Okay, so in this video we've got the bones and we're going to bind the bones to the parts of our robot. I'm just jumping to the different modes here to show you with the X-ray modes and the shading modes and the solid modes, and how you can see things more easily to appreciate what's going on. You select the body part, okay, in object mode. You shift select the skeleton, okay, so you got it highlighted like that. And then you go into pose mode, which I do there, and then you pick the bone itself. That bone for my body is going to be the parent bone. You go to the menu, which is pose, parent, and then bone, and it's done. And you know it's done because the body part disappears in the menu at the right and goes under the armature, and here I'm testing it. I go out into object mode, I save it, and then I pose it. And now I'll do it slowly and you'll see, and I'll talk over this. So in object mode you select the body part. Okay, now there's 3 bones in there, but who cares? Only one bone can drive a body part. Okay, so the fact that there are other bones in there doesn't matter. Okay, don't worry about that, you'll see why it works. Okay, so you shift select to get the armature, the whole armature. You're still in object mode. Okay, the deep orange is the body part that I first selected, and select the body part first, select the armature. You've got it all selected. Don't click anywhere else. Go into pose mode. Don't click that mouse button anywhere. You're going to just deselect stuff. Okay, you go into pose mode. Okay, everything's like that. Okay, it looks different. Okay, the skeleton doesn't look highlighted anymore. Well, now it's telling you like, hey, I want to make this. I want to click that actual bone. Okay, that's the actual bone that's going to be the parent bone of that body part that's in orange. Okay, pose. Okay, menu, parent. Okay, bone. Okay, that's going to bind that bone. Okay, that's going to bind that bone. Okay, I'm just showing it twice because I really want to show. I'm showing in slow motion here. So pose, okay, parent, and then bone, okay? And then if you look at the top section, you'll see that the body section disappears because it's going into the armature. It's part of the armature. And when you've done this for your whole skeleton with your whole body parts, your anatomies, your shoulders and your elbows and your forearms, okay, all your parts will go into the armature, pretty much. Doesn't have to, but okay, object mode. Okay, saving. Now I'm just testing. Okay, I'm going back and I'm just going to rotate it, and I want to test what I did. Okay, now you see that those bones attached. Now you see that the rest of it, obviously the rest of the skeleton, well, I have to attach those, right? I haven't done those. Okay, that's all that's done. Now see how smart it is. Those bones at the shoulders, or clavicle bones, are inside that triangle body part, and they're attached to the bone that I selected. So it's like a hammer. It's like holding a hammer, okay, that's frozen in a Toblerone piece of chocolate that's a piece of triangle, okay, and I'm swinging it. Anyway, here's the steps. You left click in object mode to select the anatomy, okay, and I shouldn't say anatomy, the body part that you've modeled, okay, like the arm or the leg. Those steps there. Shift select, go into pose mode, pick the bone, get it blue highlighted, just the one bone. Pose, parent bone. It binds that piece that's selected to that bone. It's done. It doesn't look like it's done. It doesn't really show too much. You go back into object mode, save. You have to go back into object mode to pick your next piece of body part. Okay, if you can't stay in pose mode, it won't work. You have to come out into object mode. Pick everything, okay, go back into pose mode, and that particular bone, it's a sort of step-by-step process. You have to do it, all those little 4 steps. Just the bone, it's blue selected. The binding happens when you do pose, parent, bone in the menu. Boom, it happens. You'll see it disappears. It's done. You go back into object mode. I cannot tell you how many times when I started to learn this, I stayed so much in pose mode that I thought I was doing stuff, and you're ending up not doing anything. Okay, so it's just a great way to practice. And here it's a little bit sped up, but I'm letting it play. I'm picking a shoulder body part. Okay, I'm trying to select the skeleton, but it's selecting other body parts by mistake. Okay, finally I'll get it. There. No, there. There's the skeleton with the body part. Pose mode, pick the bone, pose, parent bone, boom, it's done. It's changed in the menus. Okay, I'm just looking there in the menus to double check. Okay, and then of course what I'll do is I'll go in, okay, save my work, but then I'll go back into pose mode and move the bone, and I know it's working the way I want it to. Okay, and you see it follows the chain of command. So here I'm going down, I'm continuing with the next bone. Okay, you pick the body part in object mode, you shift select the armature, you go into pose mode, you pick the bone, and then through the menu, parent, okay, pose parent bone, okay, it does the binding, and you're good. You can stay in the pose mode and rotate your bone, and you'll see that it's doing it, okay, but now to do the next one, yes, you have to go out into object mode, okay, and you'll get used to seeing the sort of, these are the default colorings. You know you're good. See there, blue bone. Okay, now it leaves the blue bone from before. That was the last bone I had selected. Depending where you jump in your skeleton to do the rigging, I mean, that could be the right bone depending on where you're working. You'll see that here it won't be the case. I had to select the bone there, and then I just used keyboard shortcuts. You can just do it that way too to be a little faster. Okay, select the body part. Okay, select skeleton. Go into pose mode. Pick the bone, blue. Gotta do the parent thing, okay, which I did to do the binding. Okay, it's so fast that some of the steps you almost look like they're not there. Elbow, okay, shift select. Okay, it's all done. It's being picked, right? And you'll start to see, and you can go back into pose mode and just test, what's happening here. And it's so funny because I didn't even pair the bones that are inside the hand, those so-called vestigial bones, but because they follow the chain of command, okay, depending where they are, they will act accordingly. Okay, so just continuing with the body parts. Okay, some mistakes here as I kind of jumped around just to see the whole armature. Oh, I realized that my sort of bones didn't really align too well with the body parts that I made. So I'm resizing them in edit mode to kind of get them, so when that body part, like when he sits down, it's those legs that are being driven strictly by that bone, and I've got hip bones up higher and extra joints in there. Okay, and because it's a T pose, it's supposed to be more straight and aligned, so you try to, it's supposed to be almost like a rest position or T pose or sort of initial position. So, if that's supposed to be your straight body, then your bones should be kind of like your straight bones, you know. And picking the pelvis or groin armature here, or part of the anatomy, shift selecting, assigning it to that bone, big deal. I mean, just you want to sometimes have bones assigned to the parts anyway. Remember, only one bone can drive a particular body part, okay? And that's why we're not joining anything. We're not doing any Control J to join geometries. We're not doing any unifying this time, unlike my Mixamo tutorial, which is the weighted bone system, okay, for sort of soft deforming skin type binding. Okay, this is rigid rigging, binding of bones, objects, body parts to actual bones, with total influence and rigidity. There's no flexing here. So it's just the same process over and over again. Object mode, select the object, shift select the armature. Everything's orange, okay, the whole skeleton with that body part, okay. You go into pose mode to actually pick the bone. You're in pose mode, you go to the menu, okay, pose parent bone, and it does it, and it's taken it out of the listing and put it into the armature part. I leave it folded in. You'll see that at the top, like sometimes in the armature, I'll leave it, it'll jump up, and so that way the only parts I'm seeing are the parts that I still have left to do. And then you stop and test from time to time, just to double check, and I'm scrolling through that menu on the right just to see which body parts, and then you start to use actually the listing of your body parts to keep yourself organized. You've got so many body parts and you can't remember where you clicked. Well, if you fold your armature in, okay, the body parts that are listed, okay, as sort of in free space away from the armature, okay, see how that, those, I've got like a clavicle on the left side. I've got some other parts, there that are not still bound, elbow on the right side. And that's why you want to name your parts, okay? You don't need to name the bones. I mean, you can. depending on what you're going to do later, sometimes it is good to name your bones. You can. They are uh, able to be named, custom named. Okay. They do get assigned. They're numbered basically, depending on where you start, and they get numbered. Okay, bone one, bone two, bone three, basically. And sometimes it's like extra. Bone 001, bone 002. That's not so important at this stage. It's more of body parts, and you'll see when we do the part on materials. I'm going to end this chapter of this video here once we get the finished result. I mean, I do have the next part where we do some texturing and animating, but I don't want the videos. The videos are already long enough as they are. So just to finish off this part, same idea. It's a lot of repeated process. What you'll do is you get to a point too where basically you'll have things bound. Here I decided I forgot that I actually had extra parts in the clavicles, that I'd actually those boxes. You see the orange box. I thought I just had the wedge of the sort of upside down triangle, right? But I found out, oh yeah, I did make that anatomy, so I might as well pair the bone to that, okay, just to give that bone something to do, and it helps clean up our rig in the sense that we don't have any bones that aren't really sort of unassigned. It became convenient to assign every bone to a body part. I had enough body parts to do that, okay? Same process here. I mean, the bone is selected in pose mode. Okay, it gets bound, Object mode. Okay, pick the body part. Okay, I left that one out. Shift select the armature. Pose mode, blue bone. Parent it, okay, with the pose parent bone menu command, and it happens, okay? Get out into object mode. You got to do it again, okay? Object mode, pick the next body part. I know I sound like a broken record. This process is like a broken record. There are ways to simplify it. There are some plugins that are giving you shortcuts, but this is the way within Blender. If you do it, raw, manually, full control, you know what's going on. There's no voodoo going on that you don't know. You're doing it manually each step. You have full control. You understand what's going on. And by doing the process repeated, you learn how it works and how it's done, and you get good at it, and it becomes like second nature. At the end, when you're done, you just test, you click everything, you rotate some stuff. Okay, hey, but I want to get it back. So you select all the bones in pose mode, and then you do Alt R, which is reset the rotations back to zero rest position, and you're ready now for the next stage. We're going to texture next. Okay, we're going to do the gun. Okay, but this will end this chapter here.